Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. My name is Alan King. I'm one of the advisors here at LifeTime Asset Management, and I want to welcome you to this episode of our Lifetime Learning Series webinars. Today's topic is one that I've been looking forward to for some time because it's a critically important topic for all of us. And we're going to talk today about cybersecurity, featuring our honored guest speaker, Seth Cutler. Just before we get started, I wanted to let you know that we welcome your questions. If you have any questions now or during the presentation, please email them to info@lifetimeasset.com. We'll try to address your questions at the end of the presentation, but if we run short on time, we'll just answer you directly. So appreciate your help and patience with that. Also, we are recording this session, so you can rewatch or share the session later with friends and family, and we'll have some details on that at the end. So let's go ahead and begin. We're extremely fortunate to have a guest speaker today who's an industry leader in cybersecurity. Allow me to introduce Seth Cutler. He's been in technology for over 30 years and is currently Vice President and Chief Information Security Officer at NetApp, where he leads the overall security strategy for a $6 billion cloud and data fabric company. He's Teradata Analytics Warehouse certified, holds multiple cybersecurity designations, has a patent related to testing software in multiple languages, and is a member of many tech and cybersecurity focus groups, including the Cyberhealth Working Group. He frequently speaks at conferences about privacy and security, and we're very fortunate to have him today. Seth, welcome, and thank you for joining us today and sharing your thoughts and expertise.
Hey, Alan, how are you? Can you hear me okay?
Yep, I can hear you fine. That's great.
Okay.
Just to start us off, we all know that cybersecurity and identity theft protection are important topics. But as we head into the holiday shopping season, which is going to be unlike any that we've seen before with a lot more online shopping, I'm sure there's a lot of dangers out there that we should be on the lookout for. Would you agree?
Absolutely. This is the time of season where not only physical property theft goes up, but digital property as well.
Awesome, great. Well, I'll let you go ahead and hop into your presentation, and then we'll have some Q&A at the end. So we're definitely looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
Great, thanks, Alan. Okay, well, thanks Lifetime for having me. I'll do a quick introduction, who the bad guys are and what they're looking for. Talk about some notable hacks in the industry. A little bit about why and how the bad guys are doing this. Spend a little bit of time talking about phishing, some other scams, and what you can do to lower your risks. And then if you are a victim, what are your options at that point? Had a great introduction from Alan. I really do appreciate it. I am an industry veteran when it comes to software technology. I got into security, I'd say about 12, 15 years ago. And I've kept up my accreditations to my mother's dismay. I don't have the letters MD or JD after my name, but I do have a couple of industry accreditations that might give me some street cred. Just a couple of ground rules. I'm not selling anything. We can absolutely spend a day on every one of these topics. There's no bad questions. I'm always very open and patient to answer any kind of question that you may have. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a CPA, financial advisor, and I don't endorse products. And we may talk about a couple of products here about some of my experiences, but I don't necessarily endorse one particular. And then why I'm doing this, I absolutely care about folks in the digital realm. I see it and have experienced a lot more, I think, than the average person. I've had family members that have actually been victimized by cybercrime, and I'm really very passionate about educating and making people aware. As we'll go through this, you'll see that there's no silver bullet, but I'd like to provide some tools and some knowledge that you can lower your risk. All right, so let's jump in here with a quick video. So let me just share the computer sound, and now you could just make sure that everybody can hear this.
Oh, hi, can I help?
Hot chocolate.
What's the name?
Joelle.
What was the name?
Alex.
Alex. There you go, Johnny.
Cheers.
If you like our Facebook page, we give you a free hot drink and a free pastry.
We have a new light for Damien. We have a new light for Damien.
Hey, Carly, are you standing by?
Standing by. Hi there, can I help?
Yeah, I just liked your Facebook page.
Okay, I'll search Facebook
I'm
now.
searching Google.
Have a phone number.
I've got his email address.
Okay, Carly, are you ready for information on Damien?
Yep, I am.
Mother's maiden name is he banks with
Hey, Carly, this is the girl coming in now with the blue scarf.
What's the name? Nicholas.
Nicola. His date of birth, 7th of May. She lives at 38A.
Just be a couple of seconds.
2 children, age 4 and 6. Previous address, she's got the postcode.
Yep, got it.
Thank you.
Damien, age 26 and a fitness instructor.
How do you know what that?
Brody, who goes to UCL. Martin, who went to South Thames College. Assistant psychologist at Great Ormond Street.
I don't really understand.
Huh? Pardon?
You know I'm a Christian as well.
Oh, yeah, we know everything about you, Martin. Thank you. Nice to meet you, Anna from Russia.
So, real video from a small little coffee shop in London. As you can see, they signed up for free coffee, gave a couple of bits of information. Folks were in the van and they were able to relay tons of information in the time that it took to make a latte. So we'll talk about some of this stuff as we go forward, but let's talk about who are the bad guys. And there's a saying in the industry that there's two types of people. So those have been hacked, and sometimes we call this unauthorized access, and that's kind of like the technical term in the industry. And then those that don't know they've been hacked. So really it covers just about everybody. And hacked has, a kind of a charged term, and we talk about the guy with the hoodie, but it just means somebody entering your systems that don't have authorization to do so, or using your information in a manner that's not with your approval. And this casts a wide net across the globe. So we kid a lot that folks always have a hoodie, but the reality is that there are folks that are out there like nation states, China, Russia, North Korea, Iran. North Korea, for a country that has somewhat limited means, has one of the most sophisticated cyber programs in the world. I don't know if you remember the Sony Pictures hack when that movie came out that offended the leader of North Korea. He sent a bunch of cyber folks to go take care of business there. This all came out of North Korea. We find organized crime. This is a very lucrative business. So you see lots of folks in Russia, Eastern Europe, Africa. The mafia has a whole cyber arm that works on extorting money. You have a group called hacktivists. You may have heard folks like Anonymous that wear the Guy Fawkes mask. Lizard Squad is another. And these are essentially cyber terrorists that have some kind of social or religious agenda. They feel like they're doing something for the good of mankind, or maybe for the bad of mankind, depending on how you view it. And then you've got your run-of-the-mill criminals, kind of a smash and grab type, and as well as for fun. You do have folks that think that this is a neat thing to try to break into systems, and they do it to see if they can kind of get away with it. And that's kind of how a lot of this stuff kind of started and has mushroomed from there. And then if you look at some of the more notable hacks, these are records. One record is your information as it relates to maybe your name, your phone number, or something personally identifiable. And if you look at these companies, Yahoo, Facebook, Marriott, Equifax, these are companies that if you look through this list, chances are you have done business with one of the companies on this list, which means you have likely had some kind of exposure, which in turn you may have received some kind of letter for credit monitoring or some kind of notification that you need to change your credentials. But it is across the board. There's no one particular industry. While we know that there are certain industries that are great targets, This is without a doubt across the board. And the bottom line is that data is the currency. This is what criminals use. So you really need to treat your information like cash. So think about when you go and you buy that cup of coffee, you're giving away your information. Think about is that something that you're okay with? And there are some people that are completely fine with giving something like their name and social media information for that free cup. But just remember that there's other data aggregation, and we'll talk about that, that's pulling some of this information that could build a profile for you. Okay, so why are the bad guys doing this, right? So one is this is a really complex and technical space where you can get away with a lot and be considered anonymous. Very tough to track, lots of very sophisticated ways to cover up your digital footprint. Think about some of the hacks in government with some of the three-letter agencies like the FBI and the CIA who have billions of dollars to throw at this problem, but yet they still get hacked. Bitcoin, which is one example of a digital currency, also is made to be anonymous, where it's very difficult to track down, not impossible, but to track down where your digital currency is flowing from and to. And finally, this is a bit of asymmetrical warfare. There are more bad guys than good. We think of this as the bad guys. The good guys have to be right every single day, and the bad guys have to be right once. There is a low barrier to get into this business, right? So if you've got some smarts, you can go out to the dark web and purchase ransomware kits for $50. You can go and purchase hacking tools. A lot of hacking tools are considered free. So very easy to get into the business. And what the bad guys do is they will spray all of their scripts across the globe looking for anomalies, go to bed, wake up in the morning and see who has maybe clicked on a phishing link, or maybe a particular port is open that they were able to get through. So real easy for these guys to go from one to the next. And it is a bit of a game of stats where they would throw it out to a few million people and maybe grab 5 people that are unsuspecting. So cash is always one of the main drivers. You'll see some of the more hacktivist type are interested in chaos or political means. You'll see espionage, terrorism. You'll see ransomware in the news, which is a form of extortion. Intellectual property theft is really big. We see that a lot out of a number of the Asian companies where competitor intelligence is key. And then I mentioned, there are a number of folks that do this for fun. All right, so now let's talk about how. So phishing is the more likely scenario that you and I are going to be involved in. There's a few different types that we'll talk about: spear, whale, catfishing, vishing, which is video, voice phishing, so through your phone, and smishing, which is SMS. You'll see it capitalized there, which is texting. Social engineering. So this is a way of gathering information about you through some kind of social method. So an example is like Facebook quizzes. And then you see things like they take all of this information and they're actually gathering a data profile on you. It's data aggregation. And a couple of mantras that I like to use: if it's free, it's me. So kind of like the free coffee. And if you're not paying for the product, you are the product. Okay, so I'm not sure how many folks kind of, when you install some new software, you kind of click through that legal jargon, you click OK, OK, OK. Those are called end user license agreement. It's basically some legal jargon that says, you're going to do all these things. And in some of them, like Facebook, you're giving up, in order to use Facebook, you're giving up certain rights so that they can gather up data about you and build, and essentially build a profile. And that's the business that they're in. Data collection from your credit card use. When you sign your user agreement to use your credit card, there's information that is collected about you. So I worked for a company that they would work with very large retailers like Walmart, and we helped Walmart understand your buying habits. So if you're buying dog food, if you're buying baby food, if you were interested in gardening and your entire profile was being collected, and this was in the 90s. I don't know how many folks remember Columbia House, where you would get 6 CDs or records for a penny. Columbia House was another client of ours, and they made more money getting information about you when you would click on, you not click, but you would write in all your information on the application and about your likes and dislikes, and then they would track what kind of music genres you would listen to, and they would sell that information. So very valuable information. And then there's other ways that folks gather information. So there's a concept called Internet of Things. So you see folks have a Nest in their house to control the thermostat. Well, guess what? Nests are gathering information about you, not just your temperature in your house. There's other data that can be derived from that. So refrigerators and TVs, they all are connected to the internet. Medical devices are, in essence, Internet of Things, right? They're connected and supply information. And then you have some of the newest, some of these voice activated devices like Alexa, Echo, and Siri. Once again, they're gathering information about you. And a lot of this is collected by viable businesses, and once again, you're agreeing to let them use this data. But the bad guys will also attempt to collect this data and sell it on the deep and the dark web. And the deep web and the deep and dark web are areas that normal folks like you and I don't necessarily live in. This is not a Google browser. This is using something called the Onion router, and it's a different type of browser, and I would not recommend going out there unless you have an understanding of what you're getting into. But it is essentially an illegal marketplace where the bad actors sell data. They'll sell credit card information, they'll sell pornography, they'll sell gaming information, credit card, Medicare, health information, things like that. And then I try to keep things light as well. So, please don't take everything you read on the internet as gospel. You really do want to get to a place that that you can validate, right? So, and we'll kind of talk a little bit more about phishing and how we can get further protected there. So I want to give some phishing examples. Phishing is really one of the key mechanisms for bad actors to get information from us or cause malware to be installed on your computers. So a couple of examples that I want to give here. So this one looks real, right? So it's an email that came into an email address. Looks like it's coming in from LinkedIn. But if you hover over this this link here with a line under it, you could see that's not going to LinkedIn, right? And so this is just step one of what folks should be doing is don't just click on a link. This looks like it came from LinkedIn, looks like a valid email, but if you hover, you see it's going to this reformcommunicatus.com, right? Definitely not going to LinkedIn. So, these are the kinds of things. If you get an email, you are on LinkedIn, hover over these return links. Here's another one. Doesn't provide a link, and I get tons of these from Wells Fargo, where it's just a click here, right? They want you to click on the link, right? There's an embedded link here. Typically, these come with some kind of immediate call to action, and when you click on this link, it brings you to a fake branded Wells Fargo page. Looks really good. It'll ask you for your user ID and your password, right? Misspelled link, or sometimes it's called typo squatting. So it looks like this is an email that came in from Citibank, right? So it looks like a real good solid email. Tells me that, and this email was sent by the Citibank server. I need to complete this process to validate. But if you look real closely, and it's hard to see here, there's two I's in Citibank. Okay, very common mechanism to permeate fraud, right? Is to have a misspelling, right? So it looks like a real email. Here's a fake website. So you go into Yahoo, you say, yeah, I need the latest version of Google Chrome. So I go into Google Chrome, and this shows up first. Wow, that's pretty good, right? It's even got this little trademark on it. It says googlechrome.softpack.info. So it looks really good. It looks like a really good, but if you need to go and download the latest Chrome, you need to go to Google, right? So this link would install malware on your machine. So pop-ups are not as popular anymore, but I brought it up just in case folks have pop-ups turned off in their browser. So this looks like a really good Citibank branded website. Pop-up comes up and it's asking for my full debit card number. Now I didn't ask for it, but look at the address line. If you go back up here, if you look at this address line, right, this is a really interesting indicator, really long type of, and I would, I would always turn off pop-ups, but never enter your debit card or your 4-digit, you'll never be asked to do that. Okay, if you have to go to your bank or to a financial institution, you should always go to the site directly and not through a link. This is an interesting one. This is a phishing email that came in. Looks like I got an Amazon $25 gift card. This is great, real exciting. It's called a homograph. If you look real closely here, this is spelled not like Amazon. It's got an R and an N, A-R-N-A, to make it look like an M. So it kind of goes into the little bit of the misspelling, but I wanted to call the homographs out. Right, so you got to be really, really careful about clicking on these because it's going to redirect you to this arnazon.com and it's going to try to get some information, more likely your Amazon credentials. So lots of different techniques, all really creative, very well branded. It's very easy. These kinds of emails that I showed you takes about 3 to 5 minutes to create. So imagine sending that out to 5 million people coming in the morning and see who clicked on it. All right, let's talk about some other types of scams. So it runs the gamut. So I mentioned the word phishing before. So these are phone scams, right? So these prey on fears and they absolutely try to intimidate you or sell you something that you don't need. I probably get one IRS call per week. They typically come from a South Asian country, and they tell me that I've got all kinds of IRS issues and they're sending someone to my house to arrest me, or there's a bench warrant out for me. A lot of them come from rip from the headline scams. You'll get calls that you've got this is before a vaccine was becoming popular. There were a number of phishing scams that said, hey, if you sign up now and pay $100, you'll get access to a vaccine before your neighbor does. So pay a lot of attention to a lot of the current events that happen, and you'll see a lot of rip from the headlines of phishing. More popular, I mentioned IRS, debt collection, things that are going to, put fear into people. Medicare, so we're in open enrollment season, so you'll get quite a bit of fraud. When the ACA, Obamacare, was started to become very popular, a lot of fraud related to that. So it was the rip from the headline. Tons of charity, especially this time of year. So if you have a favorite charity, it's better to just make that check out directly to that charity. Be really wary of taking a phone call and making a payment with your debit or credit card, or doing it online. Go directly to those sites. You'll see things like credit repair. If they have a profile on you, you might get some for financial aid. Casting calls are big. Multi-level marketing, free trials. Free trials are always tough because sometimes they are somewhat legitimate and they do lock you in. So just be real careful about that. And this is the old adage, anything too good to be true, it is. Anything that's get rich quick or needs to be done today, a sense of urgency, you should really get your radar up about that, because those kinds of things, warrant a little more investigation. And what I always do if I get one of those calls, if I pick it up, is I hang up. I don't get into a conversation. I don't worry about being rude. I would block the call. I get, I have do not call registry on my home and on my cell phone, yet these calls still come through and some of them get spoofed, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Just hang up, put a block on it. You could do that on your phone directly. And then just, some of these come in and they ask you to send gift cards or wire money, cashing checks as a scam, allowing somebody to dial in your computer, and then giving out personal or sensitive information. So these are never type events, regardless of the type of scam, you never want to give up that kind of information. So continuing on, I mentioned smishing before. SMS is the technical term for texting. You'll see I'm getting a lot about contact tracing. So sign up here, pay $50 a month, and I'll be on a contact tracing schedule, which is kind of interesting because that's done for free through the Department of Health. So block these numbers on your phone. You get things through the mail, United States Postal Service. You'll get car warranties or scholarships or working from home. I get tons of fake invoices and bills that they're demanding money, for bills, especially right after the holiday. That's a big time of year to get things in the mail. Just opt out or tear it up. No need to be emotional, or feel bad about it. Just toss it. Skimming is one that continues. This is the fake credit card swipe at an ATM or a gas station, and there's been, if any of you are on the Nextdoor app where you hear about different things in your community, this is something that regularly pops up in the community. So what I do whenever I pump gas or go to an ATM, I kind of give the credit card machine a little bit of a tug to make sure that slot is real. If it's a little loose, I would use another one and let the gas station clerk know that that one is a bit suspect. But that is a big scam. It continues to be one that perpetuates. There's usually somebody sitting in a car nearby that's able to get all the information off your credit card, and then they just move on to the next gas station or ATM. Online dating is really big. In 2019, there's a scam called catfishing, which preys on folks that are looking for romance. And in 2019, $201 million were stolen from unsuspecting people. And this is just those that reported it, right? So this is one of those scams. If it does unfortunately occur to people, they won't necessarily report it. So this number is likely a lot higher. So just to spend a minute to talk about those kinds of scams that are romance related, do a background check. If something seems off, it likely is. Don't send money or expensive gifts that you haven't met. This is something that was really big in Eastern Europe, preying on lonely folks here in the States, collecting money and then just shutting down a site. As with anything, I'm not a relationship expert here, but take things slow. Ask questions. Look for red flags, and make sure you tell somebody. Tell somebody what's going on, that hey, I met somebody online. Let them know for your safety. Then if you suspect a scam, there's lots of really good information on the FTC site. Okay, so now what can you do, right? I talked a lot about all the different types of scams. How can you protect yourself? Well, there's no silver bullet, right? There's no one way for you to protect yourself against all the bad guys, and there's a lot. They have, as I mentioned, they have a lot of information about you already, right? You use your credit card, you're on social media, and the bad guys will use this against you. So you got to put up your defenses, right? You need to stay educated. Coming to this webinar, really good way for you to bring up your defenses. Even if you've picked up just one small nugget of information, you've protected yourself. I do have a list of sites at the end here that you can subscribe to. Folks that are over 50, if you belong to AARP, every newsletter that they send out, they've got a great list of ways of protecting yourself from online and digital scams. It's a great resource. If you go to your state attorney general's webpage, great information out there. So use these resources, all free. You never have to pay for anything. And then, this is something that I want everybody to just remember, right? Repeat it 3 times. Nothing's for free. Anything that you do get, think about that cup of coffee in the beginning in that video. You are the product, okay? Your information is the product. Protect your data like you would cash. And then there's this concept of defense in depth. So, I don't know if you remember well, I don't think you would remember. No one here is that old. If you had a castle, you had a moat with alligators. Now with folks in their house, you might have an alarm system or a Ring doorbell. You might have a dog. If you're a bad guy, you're going to look at another house that might not have that Brink sticker on or know that there's a dog barking. This is called defense in depth. You don't leave all your really nice jewelry on your dining room table and your door open, right? You would keep your jewelry maybe in a safe, in a locked room, keep the combination in a safe place. This is called defense in depth, right? Make it a little bit harder for the bad guys to get in there, right? Remember, they want to, in the digital realm, they're playing the odds, right? They're spraying out something to 5 million people and hoping a small percentage of those hit and they come in the morning. You want to do the same thing. You want to keep your defenses up, and we'll talk a little bit about how to do that. So for phishing, as I mentioned numerous times, don't provide any of your personal information when you get an email, right? Go directly to that site. I gave all of those examples about thinking before you click, hovering, looking at things that might be misspelled. Delete suspicious emails, right? Don't even bother, keeping them around, or I'll get to it later. Just delete. Keep your software and your phone software current. Right, so going out and get the latest version of Apple's iOS or Android, keeping your computer software current. You should have some kind of anti-malware, right? We'll talk about that next. And then also just, beware of attachments, right? Phishing can also come in the form of attachments. It can come in a PDF or a Word document. A lot of Microsoft products looks like it's a Word document, but it contains something called macros, which, can cause some malware to be installed on your machine. It's the same concept of, make sure you know who you're receiving an email from. We talked about phishing on your phone. Keep your number unlisted, block calls, screen calls, get on the do not call registry. Consider antivirus or anti-malware for your phone. Once again, don't provide information, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with hanging up. I only pick up my phone for numbers that I recognize, and I tell my whole family to do the same. If I don't recognize it, don't bother picking it up. And then also, don't believe your caller ID. There's a lot of spoofing going on, and spoofing makes it look like it's coming from the first 6 digits of your phone number. So it might be your area code and the first 3 exchange for your phone to try to get you to pick it up. Be wary of those as well. You'll see those come in a few times, and a lot of the states' attorney general are doing quite a bit to stop that. And I think we'll see more of that in the next couple of years. And then finally, turn off Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Not only does it drain your battery, but it is a potential security risk. On the computer hygiene, passwords are the weak point for computers, right? So don't share them with others. Don't share them across websites. So there is a type of attack so that if one of your accounts, maybe if Facebook is compromised, the bad guys know that you typically use the same password for your other sites. So you might have a cooking site that you belong to, and that site gets compromised, and you share that email ID and password with another site, then the bad guys know that. Change your default settings on routers, and then consider using a VPN, which is kind of a secure tunnel for you to communicate through, so the bad guys can't necessarily get in. It makes it a little bit tougher. I will talk for the next bit about multi-factor authentication or two-factor authentication. So this is a method of a second way of proving that this is you. So you'll see a lot of this with banks that they'll send you a code on your phone, right? That's multi-factor, and I'll get into that in a minute. On your phone, sometimes they'll have biometrics, which is another factor, and we'll talk about MFA. Really important to keep your software current. One of the best way for your computer to be compromised is using older versions of Windows or not keeping up with the latest Mac OS versions. So keep that current. Make sure you've got some antivirus running. Back up your information. So if your computer gets compromised or if it just dies, it's good information, good way to make sure you back it up. And there's a lot of options for that as well. A lot of folks use password keepers like LastPass or OnePass, and these are secure methods of keeping passwords. It's a password keeper, so it's kind of takes away from you writing them down or using the same user ID and password across multiple sites. And then also consider using modifying your social engineering questions. So part of multi-factor authentication, you'll see in some banks, they'll use things like, tell me the street that you grew up on. And I was talking to Alan before the call, and he mentioned a really neat way of modifying this. So if you grew up on Main Street, and he would prepend or add a suffix to that he uses on every question. So if the bad guys find out that you grew up on Main Street, you would have some kind of unique identifier before that. So maybe it would be the word dog, and you'd put dog dash Main Street, and you would do that for all of your social engineering questions for, like, mother's maiden name and things like that. So if the bad guys, which I thought was just a really neat idea. And then also when you're browsing, look for this little S here at HTTPS. That S is for secure. If the company you're dealing with doesn't have that secure website for a browsing session, I would really reconsider shopping there, right? Most sites have it. It means that they're not keeping to the latest security standards. Social media, talked about strengthening passwords, talked about clicking, multi-factor, don't provide personal information. So if you're an avid Facebook user, really limit, and Facebook, due to government pressures and privacy law pressures, has really had to clamp down on giving you the right to your data. And we'll see a lot of that in the next couple of years. But try to limit what you put out there. Don't scan QR codes from unknown sites. So you'll see that's big also during the holiday season. Scan here and you'll get some kind of percentage off. If you cannot validate that this is the actual retailer site, that could be a problem. And then don't do these surveys. This is real problematic. It's another one of those ways to aggregate data. Here's a quick example. This is these two fine folks got married a couple years ago, and this was posted on Facebook. So you would get your royal guest name, and look at the information that's being asked here. Your first name, what is your pet's first name, your grandparents' name, and your street name. And it would give you some fancy name. But this was really somebody aggregating data about you. Looks innocent, but your data was being collected. Other popular surveys will ask things like your first grade teacher, your first car, pass this along to the next person. Don't do it. Once again, they're grabbing information and keeping it about you. Yep, I brought up these facts. This is data mining. There was the Cambridge Analytica case, which came up with Facebook. So once again, this is all collecting more information about you. And then in general, this is, just kind of good security hygiene, making sure that you shred credit card applications and tax returns, and getting a credit freeze, which is a really good idea if you're not actively using credit. Do it for all three agencies and get a annual credit report. In general, credit cards are safer to use than debit cards on the web. Some of them offer a bit more security features. Not always the case, but something to look at. Let's see, anything else here? Public Wi-Fi. So without a VPN, this could be dangerous. There's a lot of folks, a lot of big folks that will go to like a big convention and put up a Wi-Fi on their own. Very easy to do. People will get into it at a convention. Oh, free Wi-Fi. Let me go check my bank account. Even at a Starbucks. Be careful. It's folks could see what you're typing. So if you're going to use Wi-Fi, be careful the types of business you're transacting, right? If you're going to go out to look at the latest sports box score is great, but that's where I would draw the line. Cover your computer, microphone, and camera. Right, so I've got a little device that I can open and close here, so that if anybody ever got in, they couldn't see me. Just an extra security bit. Don't be an early adopter. So a lot of folks like to go out and get the latest and greatest. Usually those have bugs. So I was in the software development business, I will tell you. The 1.0 versions of things, never good. Wait a little bit. Wait to get the bugs out. And then finally, be wary of USB drives, right? So these are the types of drives that you plug in and extend storage. There's an old security trick of kind of dumping them into a parking deck, and someone would pick it up and say, oh, great, USB drive, stick it in, and it can cause damage to your computer. It could steal information from you, and then go out when you connect to the internet. So if it's not yours, I would just step on it, toss it, throw it out. Talked a little bit about multi-factor authentication. What is it? I mentioned this is something you have and something you are. So you'll see a lot of financial institutions send you a code. Make sure you set this up. This should not be optional for you. You should use it everywhere you can. If your institution does not support it, go talk to the manager and complain. This is one of those methods, as I talked about defense in depth, where it's not, I wouldn't say unhackable, but it makes some of like the lower skilled hackers walk away. And you're seeing it across the board, right, for multi-factor. I mean, even Facebook now has multi-factor, so I would use it for that. These are examples of thumb drives, right, so be careful. And then finally here, if you're a victim, right, if you find yourself in a situation where you have been compromised, don't wait. File the report with your local enforcement agency. Contact the fraud department of the 3 credit agencies. Contact your creditors. Keep records of the conversation. Make sure you talk to your family about it. This is just like any other crime. It shouldn't be one of those things that you're embarrassed to talk about. There's a lot of information. The state's attorney general do a really good job in helping with this, and there's a number of states now that have a number you can call, like 811, and it's for cyber fraud. So it's not in every state. North Carolina is actually in the process of doing it. Some of the states in New England have it. A lot of not-for-profit help. FBI has a site called IC3 where you could log a case as well. So there are some support, and I have been involved in situations where victims have received some of their money back, but you should openly talk about it. And then I do have some numbers and sites that Alan could make available to you guys to click on. So I mentioned the IC3 site. This is the cyber fraud here, as well as Social Security fraud, things like that. So real good list of information to help you out. And that's it for me, Alan.
Wow, that's some great stuff, Seth. Part of my previous career before I started working here, I was in computer and network security, and there was a few things in your presentation that taught me a couple of things. So a lot of great stuff in there, and can't really thank you enough for taking the time to share this information with us. It is critical. There are a lot of bad guys out there, and as you say, the only way that we can really protect ourselves is to stay vigilant and follow some of these guidelines. And that's kind of one of the reasons we started this Lifetime Learning series, is so we could get some of this information out there and share it with all of our clients and friends and family on these and other important topics. We have gotten a couple of questions that have come in. One is, Any recommendations or ideas or suggestions for creating strong passwords?
Yeah, there is. I did put a password strength website here. Um, so there's a couple of different theories about passwords. So the typical is you use one upper, one lowercase, minimum of 10 characters, a number, and a special character like an exclamation point or an @ sign. Not all websites allow you to do that. Um, minimally 8 characters, and some don't let special characters. Um, Statistically, it is better to have some kind of passphrase to remember. So you can take 3 random words and put them together and also embed in there the number and a special character, right? So, you could take, one of the examples that was used in a statistical study that I read was horse staple battery. 3 unrelated things, add a number and, somewhere in there. And that kind of passphrase or 3 random words um, is actually harder to break than what people think like is, my dog's name plus 1 plus a $sign, right? And there are also lots of websites that will tell you, how long it would take to break your password, right? So you can try that and come up with something. Um, so I'd say what makes it difficult is everybody has at least 15 passwords that they have to remember, and it gets a bit to be a little cumbersome to remember all those. So some people like to use password keepers for that, which helps to some degree. So I would say, minimum 10 characters, and then think about the passphrase.
Awesome, good stuff. Somebody had a suggestion too for if you write down your passwords or if you use one of the password managers, is it's a 10-character password and the last 2 digits are always 1, 2, then just write down the first 8 characters or just put that in your password manager and just remember what those other 2 characters were. So if somebody steals your Excel spreadsheet with your passwords or hacks into your password manager, they still wouldn't have your entire password. So that's just another thought that somebody had mentioned that might be worthwhile. But because that is obviously a big concern for a lot of folks is, I've got all these passwords. So that's why people use the same password for multiple accounts, which becomes a big issue, as you mentioned. The other thing that I
was going to say, you'll see it in the next 2 to 3 years, a lot of passwords will wind up going away. Microsoft has done a significant amount of work. I spent some time with their security group in Redmond. There's a product that they have called Windows Hello, and it's one of those areas that they see password as the weak link. So you will see in the next 3-5 years a lot of passwords starting to go away and be replaced with biometrics and other mechanisms to recognize, because that is it's real hard on the end users to remember all of these passwords.
Wow, that's exciting. Be looking forward to seeing some more about that. The other question we had was about ransomware. And if you do get your computer locked up and somebody says, well, I'll unlock it if you send me some Amazon gift cards or something, what should you do in that case?
Yeah, so if you ask the FBI, they'll tell you never pay, right? It's that we don't pay terrorists, right? We don't extort. Typically, end users like you and I, we're not necessarily victims of ransomware, although there has been more and more phone ransomware, which is really more just blocking the use of your phone. So the general consensus is, look, don't pay. You're dealing with bad actors. There's no guarantee that you will get what's called a decryptor key that will unlock your laptop or desktop, um, they may do some background checks on you and see that you are a high net worth individual and raise it. Right. So now, before it was I want $100 in Google Play cards. Well, now I want 10,000. Right. Um, and there's also another mechanism called where they might do a bait and switch, where they will allow you to crypt your laptop, but then they install some software that monitors everything you're doing going forward. So you got to remember you're dealing with criminals. So, a good way to mitigate that is look, do regular backups to, some type of cloud storage device or an external device that you own, and back up your systems. And then if that does happen to you, you don't need to. You can just reformat your machine and reinstall through that mechanism, through the cloud or through an external device. But yeah, it's very risky to deal. You're dealing with a criminal.
Good information. And again, Seth, thanks for answering those questions. And if you have any questions to anybody out there that we weren't able to address or something that you think of later, feel free to shoot us an email, info@lifetimeasset.com, and we'll be happy to get an answer for you and reply to you as soon as we can. So Seth, thank you for your time and your expertise. We have another top webinar coming up in December, our last one for 2020, and it's good timing on this one. It's year-end tax planning, featuring some speakers from the brand new division of LifeTime Tax Management. So don't miss out on the chance to learn about and identify any year-end tax planning opportunities. So thanks everybody for joining in, and especially Seth, again, thanks for sharing your time and expertise. And we will be doing a recording of this, and go to lifetimeasset.com/learn, and you'll be able to get access to the recorded message or the recording of this session here in a couple of days. So we look forward to seeing you again at our next webinar. And take care, everyone. Thanks. Bye.